Hey guys, Ronkin here. Welcome to Let's Play Dark Souls. Just stepping through a few options here as we get started on the game. Most of the stuff doesn't really matter. But then we'll be getting into character creation. So just for this episode, I'm just picking a few character options to kind of show you the introductory area. Once we get through and actually pick what we want to play, I'll be playing that character throughout the rest of the LP. So I'm just showing off some of the options here. I'll make sure to discuss all this in the thread so you guys can have an idea of what you're picking between. We're going to be going with the Bandit for Start Seas because it's a relatively balanced class. You also need to pick a gift. Again, I'll explain these in the thread. So here I'm just showing off the game's paltry selection of cosmetic options. They don't really have any impact on gameplay, just kind of affect the way that your character looks. If you have a particular opinion about what you want them to look like, let me know. Either way, with that process out of the way, we're ready to begin playing Dark Souls. So I'm going to be quiet and let you enjoy the opening video.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty lords peeled apart their stone skins. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath the Scaleless betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers, and man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side.
So this is the only time I'll be making you sit through the loading screen. Just thought I'd show you what it looks like one time.
Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
And so the game begins. Very nice, that guy, whoever he was, to give us the key that lets us out of our cell. So the first thing you'll notice is there are these markings on the ground where it says read message. In this particular area, these are tutorial messages left by the developers to help you learn how to play the game. I'm going to be largely ignoring them for now. I'm taking a look at this cool guy hiding out underneath here. We'll be seeing him in about 15 hours. Anyhow, the various symbols on the ground are messages that you can read that tell you various things about how to play the game, such as basic attacks and strong attacks. I'm not going to bore you with going through all of them. And the combat system in Dark Souls is, well, it's the core of the game, and it's what makes the game really rewarding to play. It's kind of simple to understand, but rather difficult to master. And as I have shown here, you can lock on to creatures and move around them, and a key part of the game is learning how different creatures' attack patterns work and how to avoid their incredibly dangerous attacks against you. Perhaps the most interesting mechanic about the game is the bonfire mechanic. Bonfires are your checkpoints throughout the game. Whenever you rest at a bonfire, you are fully healed, your restorative items are replenished, and you're basically ready to kick a whole bunch of ass. The downside is that every time you rest at one, every enemy in the game respawns. Not bosses, but every other enemy. You can make it a risk-reward system for resting. Well, I plan to ignore most of the messages in the game. This is one of my favorites. Because boss. Yeah, this is the Asylum Demon, and he is really mean, and you're just not at all prepared to fight him when you first meet him. Yeah, my broken sword is not doing anything. Let's just get away from this guy. Much like the intro sequence to Demon Souls, the first encounter with a boss in this game is a humbling experience that sets the tone for the rest of the adventure. Luckily, we find a bonfire right afterwards. We can restore our health. And hopefully we can find some equipment to prepare ourselves for that guy in the future. Just a brief look at the inventory system. I'll be explaining it in more detail and showing screenshots in the thread. I just want to show the description for Dark Sign, which was from the intro video. It appears that we are branded with the Dark Sign. Now that we have a shield, we should be able to deal with this guy. Hey, come back here. And here's the inventory system. You can equip 2 weapons, or 2 main hand items, and 2 offhand items, which I'm showing here. I've got the battle axe and the short sword hilt. Let's stick with the battle axe because it just seems like it's probably a little better than doing 13 damage. Yeah, that's an improvement for sure. All weapons basically have 2 types of attacks, and some have chains. The battle axe here has a single chain light and single chain heavy attack, which I just showed off. The light attack costs less stamina, while the heavy attack costs a lot more, but also does quite a bit more damage. While we're talking about it, we'll just go over the UI at the top of the screen there. That number is for our humanity, which I'll explain later. The red bar is our health pool, and the green bar is our stamina bar. Stamina is drained by things like running, rolling, blocking, attacking, and pretty much anything else. We want to always have stamina, because when we are out of stamina, we're relatively weak. You'll be seeing more evidence of this throughout the game, but the level design in Dark Souls is widely lauded, and that's because it is extremely well done. As you can see, we're now back here at this bonfire, and I foolishly choose not to re-rest at it. Spoilers. That's the first of the game's many, many, many traps.
Oh, you. You're no hollow. Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I were both undead. Hear me out, will you? Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family: thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know. Well, now you know, and I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask, an undead favorite. Oh, and this. Now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
No, thank you. Estus flasks, as you can see in the bottom corner, are your healing item. The interesting about Esting... What was that? Just gained some souls. And he's gone. Don't you worry, we'll meet him again later. Anyhow, Estus flasks are our healing item. The interesting thing about Dark Souls versus other action games is that every time you rest at a bonfire, your healing items are restored. It also means that you only get a certain number. It seems a little nicer, but in fact it's actually a rather brutal mechanic because it means you really need to manage your resources in between each resting. And this is one of the initial kind of difficult combats that you can encounter. 2 mooks up front protecting an archer in the back. It's just helpful to note that Dark Souls is all about patience. All about patience. Now with this guy, I'm foolishly trying to show off the parry mechanic. End up showing you how healing works. Parrying in this game is a kind of timed mechanic where you basically need to do a special attack with your shield in the middle of their attack animation. It can be difficult to pull off, and messing it up can be kind of bad. Now, I was originally planning on editing this out, but I decided it would be a good opportunity to show off some of the other mechanics of Dark Souls, primarily the death mechanics. Dying in Dark Souls is a thing that happens a lot, so it's an important thing to understand. In the bottom right corner is the soul counter. Now, souls are dropped by all enemies when you kill them, and souls are for leveling up, as well as for buying equipment and other stuff at shops. When you die, you drop all of your souls on the ground, which is why my soul counter was just recently at 0. You have the opportunity to run back and pick up your souls. However, you'll notice that all of the enemies have respawned since I died. And of course, if I die on the way to going back to get my souls, then my new soul collection will drop and replace the old one. Meaning, if I had a whole bunch of souls and I died trying to get them back, they're now gone forever. You see that green glowing orb on the ground is actually my soul. Then here I am exacting my revenge and getting my souls back. And we'll be coming back to that door in quite a while. This is another rather important message. The plunging attack, as you'll soon see, is very effective, but you don't get to use it super often. You can see with that, plus my new weapon, this guy becomes not easy, but doable. Now, the Asylum Demon is the first boss that you'll encounter in Dark Souls, and is a good learning experience for basic mechanics of the game. He has a few basic attacks, such as the long-range ground pound that he's doing now, and my personal favorite, the flying butt slam. These attacks are relatively easy to project and avoid, as long as you know what the boss is doing. You'll also note that when it comes right down to it, Dark Souls is basically a giant monster butt stabbing simulator. Not that they're particularly big fans of getting stabbed in the butt. Anyhow, when it comes right down to it, bosses in Dark Souls are all about learning how to predict what the monster is doing based on the attack it's projecting, and then taking advantage of the openings it leaves. And just like that, the first boss of Dark Souls is defeated. You will also notice that I got about 2,000 souls for killing that boss. All of the bosses have really large sums of souls that they drop, and many bosses in the game drop a unique item that is their quote-unquote soul that can be used for a variety of things in the game. And with that, we've taken the first step of a long and sometimes painful journey through the world of Dark Souls.
Only in the ancient legends it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the undead asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords, Lordran.
Well, now that we're in Lordran, we can actually level up and do some other of the interesting things that are available to us at bonfires, such as kindling and reverse hollowing. I'll explain a little bit more about this in the thread, but let's just take a quick look at leveling up. So you'll note that there's a large number of stats that we can increase, and each level increase requires a certain number of souls. The higher your level, the more souls it costs to buy the next one. Each different stat increase has a variety of effects. In addition, we can kindle bonfires, although we're not allowed to do it while we're hollowed. So why don't we reverse hollowing? We have no humanity. So on that incredibly uplifting note, let's call this episode of Let's Play Dark Souls completed. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.